Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Guilherme Toguia, and on behalf of the organization team of the Wastewater Reels event, this is how we do it. I would like to welcome and thank you all for attending this webinar. Our event is part of a volunteer project that aims to value and discuss what's wastewater reuse with everyone, giving space to listen to the professionals, experts, and others that work on it. With this, we intend to better prepare ourselves as citizens and society for the impact of water shortages due to climate change effects. This is the second session of four for this year event, and we will highlight the reuse of wastewater for agriculture purposes. Another detail, this webinar will be broadcasted live on YouTube, and the link will be available on our website and LinkedIn page, so you can rewatch any session later. Also, if you go to our website and LinkedIn page, you will find other information about us and other initiatives that we will carry soon. If you are interested in that, please use the links provided in the description. Our event wouldn't be possible without our partners, so I want to dedicate a special thanks to Fazedores da Mudança Association, Lisbon Environmental and Energy Agency, Lisboa Nova, Rui Faria Consultancy, and Grokify. If you allow me, I would like to leave you now with two notes for our session. We will do each presentation and then a moment of questions and answers. And we will also admit online questions, and we encourage the audience to also participate with us. And for that, we ask those who have questions to write them down on the online chat so I can introduce them in the right moment. And you can also put your questions in voice by clicking on your scroll bar icon with the hands up and wait until I give you the permission. Finally, for those who are joining us after this event on YouTube, you can always submit your questions by contacting us using the link available in the description. At the end of the session, before you leave, we would like to invite you to take 5 seconds of your time and answer our short anonymous survey, which will be displayed online in your screen. And then, without any more starts, allow me to introduce our moderator for this session, David Fangueiro, which is an associate professor at Agronomy Superior Institute at University of Lisbon. His master's in analytical chemistry from the Institut Supérieur Agronomique de Paris, Grigmont, in France. I'm sorry for my French. Have a PhD in chemistry from the University of Aveiro and from the Institut Supérieur Agronomique de Paris, Grignon. David Fangueiro is a specialist in management and agronomic valorization of animal manure, with a special emphasis on reducing environmental impacts, gaseous emission, and water contamination. He is co-coordination of the European network RAMIRAN, which means Research Network on Recycling of Agriculture and Industrial Residues in Agriculture, and coordinator of the research group Resource Management and Landscape Architecture of LEAF Center. LEAF meaning the landscape, environment, agriculture, and food. Its main areas of activity are manure treatment by solid-liquid separation and acidification, assessment of nutrient losses after manure application to soil, emissions of greenhouse gases and ammonia nitrate leaching, assessments of the nutrient balance and carbon footprint in dairy farms. Author of more than 80 publications in international peer-reviewed journals, David Fangueiro is currently involved in several research projects, including the EU projects Nutri2Cycle, Ferticycle, and Wasteless. David, it's a pleasure, and if you're ready, we can proceed.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure for me to be here today with you. First of all, I would like to say thank you for this invitation. I will try to attend what you asked me to do, to, let's say, coordinate this very nice session with 3 excellent presentations. I start to say hello to the audience and obviously to our speakers. We would start with Konstantinos, then we will have Pedro, and finally Jorge, 3 excellent specialists in this area. I would just say some few words about each of the speakers and then let you expose us your talk. Konstantinos, he has a PhD in chemical engineering. He has an experience outside in Germany as a Marie Curie fellowship. Now, more recently, he's working as an associate researcher at the CPERI and CERTH. I'm sorry, I don't know the the full name, but anyway, you will have time to give us all these details. The most important, Konstantinos has a strong experience on the development of advanced technologies for desalination, water and wastewater treatment, for pollution abatement, recovery of added value materials and energy. And he focused on some specific processes, namely membrane processes, advanced oxidation processes, and also electrochemical processes. He has a strong record of publications, both chapter books as well as peer-reviewed scientific papers. He's now the project manager of the Aquacycle project. I think he will say some words later about this, and also the coordinator of the Medway Cap project, both funded by EU and with, let's say, common aim, that is to change the paradigm of using wastewater as an unsafe effluent to that of an abundant all year round resource that has multiple uses, and to boost the promotion of best practices for the use of non-conventional water resources in water scarce areas from domestic and agricultural purposes. So my description might be a bit complex, but I'm sure that Konstantinos will give us some lights about this very interesting concept. Konstantinos, please, the floor is yours. You have
Thank you very much, Professor Fangueiro. First of all, let me know if you can hear me well.
Perfect, yes.
Okay, excellent. Because I'm here together with Mr. Pedro Simón, we are participating in a major event organized by Aquacycle project. We have a training for trainers event here in the region of Murcia. We are very glad to be with you. I would like to express my gratitude to the organizers of this event, and especially to this young enthusiast, I would say, Dr. Guillermo Atuguilla. I don't know if I have pronounced well your surname, sorry.
Yes.
Great initiative to alert the Mediterranean community about the concept of the wastewater reuse towards mitigating the water needs, especially in the semi-arid and the arid countries of our region, our Mediterranean region. So I will share my presentation. Please let me know. This is Pedro's, this is mine. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect, yes.
Maybe I move this up screen. That's okay. So, as Professor Fangueiro already told you, I am associate researcher at the Center for Research and Technology, Hellas, which is one of the biggest organizations in Greece. Currently, 5 institutes operate at CERTH with more than 1,500 people, mostly scientists, engineers, biologists, agronomists, working not only on water, let's say, crisis issues, but also on circular economy, on smart energy system, on informatics and communication, on transport systems, and so on. Today, I will have a brief overview about the projects that I'm currently the manager and the coordinator. I'm referring to Medway Cap project, which capitalizes the results of 6 projects funded by the European Neighbourhood by cross-border cooperation in the Mediterranean, which all deal with improving the water efficiency at the Mediterranean level, and more specifically to change the paradigm of wastewater reuse in our region. So my presentation, let me see, doesn't move to the next slide for a reason. Okay. So my presentation is divided in 6 sessions. At the beginning, I will stress the challenges faced in the Mediterranean region in regards to the water crisis and the need to take measures to increase the water availability under the pressing climate change conditions. Next, I will briefly present the scope, the objectives, and the major results of 4 projects funded by the European Union under the thematic priority water efficiency of the NCBC Med program, which are currently being capitalized by MedWeCap project. I will conclude with some perspectives concerning the wastewater reuse in our region. So I would like first to start with a statement made by Mrs. Pernille Weiss, who chairs currently the MEP Water Group, which is a focal point for the water topic at the European Parliament. And according to Mrs. Pernille Weiss, the value of, the value of the water remains too often under the radar, and these situations lock the hidden potential of this sector, such as the valorization and the reuse of wastewater. It is understood that the European Commission has a special interest on water reuse, as reflected by the new EU regulation on minimum requirements for water reuse for agricultural irrigation. I'm referring to the regulation 2020/741 that was voted almost 2.5 years ago, as well as the ongoing revision of the Urban Wastewater Directive and of the Industrial Emissions Directive, which all 3 will facilitate the water reuse and efficiency in other sectors, including the industrial processes, in the context of the new Circular Economy Action Plan adopted in 2020. In these directives, attention will be given also to the elimination of nutrient loads and toxic pollutants, including pharmaceuticals, endocrine disrupting compounds, microplastics, and other emerging organic contaminants of great concern for the human health and the ecosystem, in the principles, of course, of the circular economy, sustainable development, and zero pollution. So, some statistics concerning the Med challenges. We are all aware that the availability of the water in the Mediterranean basin is limited. Therefore, our area is one of the most vulnerable to the water crisis. As you can see in this picture, the freshwater resources are unevenly spread across the country. Nearly 2/3 are concentrated in the northern rim countries, while most countries on the southern and the eastern shores of the Mediterranean are under water stress, disposing less than 1,000 cubic meters per capita per year. And this amount of water corresponds not only for domestic uses, but also for agricultural and industrial uses per capita in a country. Some of these countries like Libya, Malta, Jordan, Palestine, Israel, Tunisia, and Algeria, which count altogether a population more or less of 80 million people, are in structural shortage, I would say, situation with less than 500 cubic meters per capita per year. About 20 million of Mediterraneans, I think this is a quite old statistic, it's more, don't have even access to drinking water, while 47 million of the Mediterraneans don't have access to adequate sanitation. Concerning the wastewater treatment plants, as you can see in this figure, the distribution is not uniform across the Mediterranean region, where we see no sewage treatment in many cities on the southern shore of the Western Basin, such as in the coastal Sicily, the eastern coast of the Adriatic, the Aegean, and the northern corner of the Lebanon Basin. And around 37% of the coastal settlements with more than 2,000 inhabitants do not operate any wastewater treatment plant. You are all aware about the nutrients, the problem that they create in the eutrophication. The urban wastewater treatment plants are the larger emitters of nitrogen and phosphorus, and around let's say 1.5 to 4.5 million stores per year of nitrogen are released to surface waters, while phosphorus 0.1 to 0.4 million tons per year are released, creating these big eutrophication issues, while this could be a major source of nutrient recovery for valorization as fertilizer in our backyard agriculture. So concerning, the energy expenditure, we more or less see that 40% of this expenditure in conventional wastewater treatment plants are going to pumping, moving, and treating of the urban water needed, and especially to the biological aeration treatment. And this is really important considering the energy crisis that the European Union faces nowadays, that we need to seek solutions that are less energy, that consume less energy. Concerning the market, around $211 billion is expected to reach the water market by 2025. And as you understand, this opens and provides many opportunities, job opportunities, especially for green jobs. So to summarize, I would say that people say that numbers don't lie. I would say that statistics don't lie, since the numbers don't tell the whole story, but sometimes can be manipulated. So from the statistical data presented, it is understood that the Mediterranean area is one of the most vulnerable to water crisis and to the impacts of global warming. Despite currently some encouraging progress, the current water use efficiency in the drinking water and the irrigation sector still present a challenge for the area. So let's move now to the next slides. Concerning about the project that I'm currently coordinating, this MedWeCap project. MedWeCap project is a capitalization project, as already mentioned. This is the first time that the European Union, under the NCDC Med program, funds this kind of projects, which answers the needs to enhance and make further use of the consolidated results and of the knowledge and experiences of a selected number of successful projects implemented in the Mediterranean area, including also our joint project with Pedro Aquacycle, under the same thematic priority, which is water efficiency. Specifically, in this project, MedWeCap project, we aim to promote, exploit, and or disseminate the successful practice and results of 6 previously financed projects in the Med region on non-conventional water resources, treatment and reuse for the mitigation of the water needs. So when we are talking about non-conventional water resources, we are talking about treated wastewater, municipal, especially. We're talking about surface brackish water, grey water at the domestic level, rainwater harvesting, stormwater, mixed waters, and all kinds of waters that now the humanity does not necessarily valorize directly in order to produce drinking water, such as the groundwater or the surface water. So about the program, the project identity, the project is funded under priority B41 and is composed of 5 EU partners, 4 Mediterranean partners, 1 international organization based in Italy, and 12 associate partners from Greece, Italy, Malta, Spain, Egypt, Palestine, Tunisia, and Jordan. The main challenge is to provide a challenge-driven cooperation in the area through a coherent and continuous cross-border dialogue and process capacity building of the related staff, and easy access to the information and a friendly use of tools for mutual learning, It's a 2 years project that started on 1st of October in 2021, and it will end this year by the end of September. And it has a total budget of 1.1 million euros with an E&I contribution of 1 million euro, more or less. In this graph, you can see, let's say, a sketch of the partners and of the associate partners, where in total a large consortium of 21 partners, which we said the main, let's say, dream to see wastewater reuse being implemented in not only countries where they face really serious crises, such as Jordan, or even here the south rim of Spain, like Murcia, but also in, I would say, more water-rich countries like Spain, Italy, or Greece. So here you can see the titles and the acronyms of the projects that are being capitalized currently within MedWeCap. So I kindly advise you to visit the websites of these projects and learn more. And please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions, and I can link you directly with the coordinators of these projects. We have Aquacycle, Medis, Menawara, Nagoment, and Prosim, which all share the same logo, this drop within the green background. So the overall objectives of MedWeCap is to challenge the paradigm in non-conventional water use and management in the Mediterranean region through the promotion of sustainable strategy and technological innovation. And this will be achieved through 3 specific objectives. From one hand, we want to consolidate the knowledge framework on non-conventional water resource management. And for this reason, we aim to identify and harmonize best practices, key results, and the lessons learned in the Mediterranean area by promoting benchmarking and access for capitalization. Another objective is to strengthen the impact and the value of innovative integrated non-conventional water management solutions through a Med Capitalization Alliance for a collective learning towards a more effective policy relevance and innovation processes to ensure a sustainable capitalization of the best practices, and of course their replicability, and to foster this replicability and mainstreaming, especially for decision makers at local, national, and regional level. So let's talk about Aquacycle. Aquacycle project, which I have the privilege to manage, composed of a total 7 partners and 4 associate partners from Greece, Spain, Malta, Lebanon, and Tunisia. And ESAMUR is a major partner from Spain. And the Aquacycle is said to bring an eco-innovative wastewater treatment technology. We call it APOC technology. And here you can see a nice maquette that we have produced in the context of this project, because we like to communicate the attributes of this project also in the students, in schools. And we transfer this maquette in exhibitions organized currently by MedWeCap projects. And this specific system is composed of 3 components, an anaerobic digestion part and a constructed wetlands, which are 2 mature technology with many reference plants around the world. And a rather novel, I would say, technology, we call it solar photocatalytic oxidation in the form of a raceway pond reactor for the final disinfection and removal of organic pollutants in order to satisfy the stringent standards for reuse in the agriculture. And all this without any connection to the grid. The energy is required, the minimum energy required for the operation of this plant can be covered by renewable energy such as photovoltaics, or by the biogas produced for the anaerobic digestion process in order to heat the respective reactor. Here you can see the plant location of APOC technology, the 3 demonstration units. We have 1 currently being operated in the Murcia region of Spain, specifically in the Blanca community by ESAMUR. And there are 2 other APOC demo plants that are being under construction, 1 in Tunisia, in the Ben Zaidan, and in Lebanon, in the area of Tripoli. So here you can see some info concerning the APOC system. The APOC system stands for anaerobic digestion, photocatalytic oxidation, and constructed wetland. Anaerobic treatment, as already mentioned, and constructed wetland are two mature commercialized technology with wide applications that are combined with this novel photocatalytic oxidation for high disinfection and removal of contaminants of emerging concerns. Here is a typical flow diagram, a sketch, but of course, this is a matter of design depending on the composition of the effluent and the final treatment target set by the designer. I would like to say a few words concerning the solar photophenol. It's an advanced chemical oxidation process that has attracted major scientific interest as a promising alternative for the degradation of contaminants of emerging concern. And the heart of this process is the in situ productions of strong hydroxy radicals, which is an environmental friendly, let's say, reagent of to have a half-life of a few nanoseconds that can distract all kinds of emerging organic pollution, all kinds of organics. But since this could be an energy-intensive process, we valorize the solar for this reason in order to promote a higher regeneration rate of the iron species required to promote this specific reduction for the in situ production of hydroxy radicals. On the other hand, the solar radiation also promotes the photolysis of the iron carboxylate intermediates for the recovery of iron to catalyze again the reaction with hydrogen peroxide for the removal, for the production of stroke radicals. And we also the photolysis of hydrogen peroxide in the UVC regions promotes an additional production of strong hydroxy radicals. And at the same time, we can have a direct solar disinfection. There are the main APOC benefits. For one hand, we utilize the solar energy, which is an abundant resource in the Mediterranean region. We can also produce biogas by the anaerobic digestion. We minimize the production of excess secondary sludge we see in conventional aerobic systems. We have also a solid digestate that can be used for land fertilization. And these systems, as you have understood, can be implemented using local skills and know-how without any necessary expertise. Here you can see some photos of the APOC demo plant in the region of Blanca, wastewater treatment plants. I don't know if Pedro will talk about it later in his talk. I would like also to invite you to visit our e-training platform that is produced by the AquaCycle Partnership, describing the principles for the design, the operation, and the maintenance of the three different components of APOC system. I invite you also to register to our forum. And this tool is useful. It's an open access tool. It can be also used by professors to train students on the different components composing the APOC system. A few slides concerning Nagoment project. Nagoment is also a project funded by the NCBC Med with partners from 5 countries. We have joined forces to implement real-scale pilot installations for grey water in this case, not municipal wastewater, for grey water and rainwater treatment and reuse in each participating country, in Italy, in Tunisia, in Jordan, and in Lebanon. And the recovered grey water will be reused for different purposes, including toilet flushing and irrigation, therefore reducing the consumption of potable water for domestic uses. In this specific project, we see the implementation of natural-based solutions, such as this green wall and green facades technologies. For this specific technology, we have 4 case studies. Here are some slides concerning the living wall in the Ferla, Italy, which has been installed in a school, middle stage school in Sicily with a total of about 190 students. Here you can see some info concerning this specific living wall with an area of about 30 square meters and a gray flow rate of 1.3 cubic meter per day, which is used, the treated water for toilet flushing and for irrigation. Here you can see some photos of this installation, and the good thing is here you can see also an educational activity for the students to learn more how this natural-based solution operates and treats their grey water produced within the school. Another case study at the premises of CERTH, which is an institution there in Tunis. Again, applying this living wall concept of 2 cubic meters per day of the design flow rate capacity, which equals to 700 cubic meters of grey water reused. Here is the total surface area is larger, 70 square meters. And again, this specific installation is used for toilet flushing. Here you can see that the vegetation is in a stage of growing in comparison with the Ferla in Italy. So now we move to Manawara. It's another project that is being currently capitalized by MedWeCap project. This specific project is coordinated by the University of Sassari in Italy. And this specific project is proposing sustainable, clean and environmental friendly solutions based on the reuse of non-conventional waters, in particular drainage water. Here, the fundamental for this project is the fit-to-purpose approach and a new important concept in water reuse, which entails the production of reclaimed water quality that meets the needs of the intended end users. Here you can see one technique implemented, which is the managed aquifer recharge technique based on forested infiltration areas for treating polluted with nitrates groundwater and drainage water in Arborea in Italy. Here you can see some actions promoted through Manawara projects. So from one hand, we have implementation of minor intervention in existing wastewater treatment plants. We have the development of sustainable irrigation system to improve the efficiency, the water efficiency and crop yields by using treated wastewater. We have low-cost pre- and post-treatment system realized in wastewater treatment plants and these smart systems which take which are currently implemented in forested infiltration areas. Here you can see the derivation areas in Tunisia, in Palestine, in Jordan, in Spain, and in Italy. Here you can see also in Jordan the different irrigation methods applied, such as the sprinkler, the surface, the drip, and subsurface on alpha to improve the alfalfa yield, quantity, and quality. In Arborea, I already mentioned about this smart technique. 6 parallel recharge trenches are being implemented, placed between rows of white poplar trees and equipped with an innovative passive treatment system consisting of a mixture of inert and organic materials to attenuate organic and inorganic contamination and to prevent the clogging processes at the infiltrating surface. So to conclude, I don't know about the time. I think already 30 minutes that I'm talking. Just only one slide. We all agree that water is a key issue all around the world. It's a source of inequalities when scarce, of geopolitical conflicts when shared, and of public health when polluted. Our Mediterranean region is one of the 25 hotspots impacted by climate change in the world. And we expect by 2050, the gross domestic product of the Middle East and North Africa linked to water issues to decrease by up to 14%, thus affecting agriculture, health, and incomes. And concerning the labor market, we see that 3 out of the 4 jobs worldwide are water dependent, while 15 million jobs should be created in the next decade to absorb the growing labor supply in the Mediterranean region. And in order to tackle this issue, which is a global challenge, we need to have a collective response involving public, private stakeholders, government, academia, businesses, civil society at local, national, and regional level. to improve and consolidate these systems that some of them that I have already presented in previous slides. And we as researchers we're here to propose to research and to promote best practices that rely on success stories from previous and ongoing R&D projects, which potentially could pave the way for the improvement of treated wastewater reuse as non-conventional water resource that can contribute to mitigate the local water shortages in our region. I would like to thank you for your attention, and of course our funder, the NCBCMA program, the European Union. And I'm here for any questions that may have come up from the attendees.
Thank you very much, Konstantinos, for this very interesting presentation. I open now the floor for some questions. Any questions? I'm looking at the chat. No questions. Not now.
I have one, please.
Okay.
Konstantinos, thank you so much for your presentation. I wrote it down my paper because I want to know more and explore some of the programs that you talked about. But let me ask you first, all your demos that you talked are off grid, complemented by solar energy and local biogas production. That's one question. And second, are they scalable to any volumes of effluent, or have some limitations?
Yes. So for sure, Mr. Pedro Simón will share his experience for our APOC demo plant in Blanca. There was an existing USB reactor and an aerobic digestion reactor, and for sure we haven't implemented photovoltaic panels there. But for the two other demo plants in Tunisia and Lebanon, our aim is to not to have them connected to the grid, but to have batteries there in order to supply the necessary energy for the pumping, especially stations, because as you have seen, these systems, the only specific requirement is more or less to heat, if necessary, the anaerobic digestion reactor and to pump the effluent. Although we take into advantage the gravity. I mean, from moving from one component to the other, since the hydraulic residence time required for these systems can span from, let's say, 8 hours to 20 minutes. For example, the solar disinfection unit requires only 20 minutes in order to achieve a total disinfection and removal of organic microcontaminants. For sure, we are now in a stage of assessing the sustainability of this process in terms of the operational cost. In order, because at the end, you know, the investors and the economic entities, what they are carrying is about the cost, the investment cost and the operational cost before deciding if they are interested to invest in this new concept. I'm referring to AgroCycles since I know more about this project. This is for small and medium-sized communities. It's not for Madrid, it's not for Athens, it's not for Thessaloniki. It's for communities lower, I would say, than 3,000-4,000 inhabitants, but for sure it can, from my point of view, resolve many critical issues along the Mediterranean region, because you have seen that around 40% of these municipalities do not implement any wastewater treatment at all. I mean, the sewage is discharged directly to the Mediterranean. And in some cases, we see Lebanon, for example, the sewage is discharged in canals, in this state, I would say, and 500 meters below, there's a farmer who takes this water to irrigate his cultivation, with all these critical risks for the health, I mean, for the plants and the humans that they could pose. So we are here as engineers in order to, you know, promote new best practice alternative that you don't need to be expert in order to operate this. And they mimic the nature, such as the constructive wetlands. They take advantage of the solar energy, which is abundant in the Mediterranean region. It doesn't cost a lot, from our point of view.
Thank you, Konstantinos, for this clarification. I think that we don't have time for more questions, just to keep the time. Say thank you again, Konstantinos, for this presentation. I think that you have to leave us for a time. So thank you again. I give the floor now to Pedro, Simón, but before that, just some few words about Pedro. Pedro Simón Andreu is an industrial engineer with more than 30 years of experience in water management, especially wastewater treatment. He worked in several companies, namely Aquagest, and more recently in the Entidad de Saneamiento de Comunidad Valenciana, a public company responsible for the wastewater treatment. Since 2022 is working as technical director at ESAMUR, the regional public company responsible of wastewater treatment system in the Murcia region, but is also a teacher in several international masters and courses related with water treatment. He published several book chapters and papers on this topic and participated in more than 15 European research projects. And so to highlight the fact that he's collaborating with the GRC and involved in the regulation on water reuse. Finally, I would like also to stress that he's coordinator on the water reuse in the Spanish Association of Water Supply and Sanitization, and vice president in the Spanish Association for Sustainable Water Reuse. So a strong background on water treatment, and today he will share with us some thoughts about water reuse in Murcia region, along history and new challenges. Pedro, the floor is yours, about 25-30 minutes.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I think that it's very interesting to let us to share our knowledge about water reuse. In the title, I describe a long history and new challenges. Why? Because we are reusing water since many years ago. We are reusing water from more than 20 years, and we have a long history about that. Well, why do we reuse water? We are here in the southeast of Spain, and if we see the color of this zone is brown, that is this color. It means that the precipitation that we have in the region is the lowest precipitation in all Europe. The average rainfall that we have is 350 millimeters per year, and at the same time, we produce more than 2.5 million tons of agricultural products every year. It means that we need every water source that we are close of us. Then, for us, it's very, very important to reuse the water. Some figures about our region. In the Murcia region, we are 1.5 million of inhabitants. The surface is around 11,000 square kilometers. The number of wastewater treatment plants is 100. I say 99, but really we have 900. And the population survey is almost the population in the region, 99.3%. The percentage of reuse is around 98%. I will explain after. And the annual volume of treated water that we have is 110 cubic hectometers every year. Why I say that we have a 98%? Really, we have a reuse, direct reuse, and also indirect reuse. But the most of the water is directly reused in agriculture, and 42% is indirect. But I'm going to explain that although we consider that this is indirect, it's like if it were direct. Why? For example, we can see here this wastewater treatment plant, this is the Segura River, that is the river that we have in the region of Murcia. The scarcity, the flow of this river is very, very low, very low. And this wastewater treatment plant don't have the permission to reuse the water. Why? Because the basin authority needs ecological water, ecological flow in the river. Then we have to discharge that. But 500 meters after, we can see this pond in which there are some irrigators that are taking water from the river and using this water. What does it mean? We make the similar treatment in this plant that in other plant that has direct reuse. Why? Because if we discharge this water without disinfection, when this irrigator take the water, this water won't be in good condition, and we can have they can have a problem with that. For that, this wastewater treatment plant, all the wastewater treatment plant in the region of Murcia has advanced tertiary treatment to make disinfection of this water, because it's very important for us not to create any problem for the river and the users of the water of the river. But the usual is that we have here the wastewater treatment plant, and after there is a pond of the irrigators community. We discharge the water here to this pond, and they take this water for their uses. Usually, they mix the water with other water sources, because with this water is not enough for all the production, agricultural production that we have in the region. In fact, the reclaimed water is other water in the water pool that it represents around 15% of the total needs in the region. The total needs in the region is around 800 cubic hectometers for all the production of agricultural products that we have in the region, and 15% comes from the water reuse. Some key points that I would like to highlight. Firstly, it's important to reuse the water that we have scarcity of water. Current or in the future, because many times we think that we don't need water now because we have, for example, water from aquifer or other, but we are perhaps wasting this aquifer. Then it's important to know not what is happening now, but we have to know what is happening in the future. Then when I say scarcity of water is in this sense. Political will, it's very important. For example, here in the region, was decided that in the sanitation master plan of 2000, that water reuse is a key point. Then all the facilities that we have built from this year have advanced tertiary treatment for disinfection. Then it's very important, this decision of the authorities. Other aspect, very important, crucial, is we need adequate and sufficient treatment infrastructure. If we don't have that, it's impossible to give a water of enough quality for irrigation. Also is very, very important, the adequate control and managed systems. In this case, ESAMUR is the public company who controls and manages all the wastewater treatment system in the region of Murcia, all these wastewater treatment plants. And then we have a very strong control on all the facilities. And something crucial is the users and consumer trust. If not, if they don't have trust, they are not going to use this water. Then it's very important to create. They have to be safe, sure that the water is safe. The used water is safe. If not, they are not going to use this water. For that, the first thing that we need is to treat the water perfectly. We can see in this slide the efficiency of our wastewater treatment plant that we have. This is the average in all the wastewater treatment plant in the region, and we can see that in BOD5 is in the order of 99% of the efficiency. In COD, around 96%. And suspended solid is around 98%. Why do we need that? Because it's very important to make a very good secondary treatment in the wastewater treatment plant to be able to reuse the water viably. Because if the quality is not very good, it will be very difficult to get a good disinfection, and the dosage or the energy that we will need will be very high. Then it's very important that the secondary treatment has to work perfectly. If not, it's very complicated to reuse the water. Well, I'm going to show in this slide what is the usual tertiary treatment that we have. When I say tertiary treatment, I always speaking about disinfection, not nitrogen or phosphorus removal that we have also in the most of the plants. Well, when we want to get reclaimed water, we need firstly to prepare the water to be disinfected. How do we prepare that? We have to use a system to remove as much as possible all the solids and improve the quality of the water. Why? Because we need a water in very good condition, because so the dosage that we have to employ will be lesser. For example, if we have solids, it's going to serve as a shield of the bacteria, and then they are not going to get the dosage that we need to give them to kill. Then it's very important to remove as much as possible all the solid that we have. Then, firstly, we have a physicochemical process to remove the colloidal solids that we have in the water. After, we have lamellar settlement. And after, we have filtration of many types of filtration, because we have many different systems. Sand filtration, open, close, other system like we can see there, closed filtration. Well, after that, the water is prepared. And now we go to the disinfection, properly said. That is usually with UV system. We can see by open channel or by reactor. Also, we have chlorine compounds sometimes. Many times are combined to system. And also we have a lot of membranes that are very, very effective also to remove pathogens. Well, we need the maximum reliability of the facilities, because we have to create confidence in the users. Then, for example, we are using some technologies like CFD, computational fluid dynamics, to know perfectly what is happening in every part of the, for example, this is a channel of UV, what is happening there. If any current of water is too far from the lamps, and then we cannot give the needed dosage to kill this bacteria. And then this type of work are very important. Also, for example, with tracers, to know what happens here, and if we have any short circuits or we have any these zones, that it means that we are going to be less time with the oxidant in contact with the water. Then we are not going to get too much in this thing. Of course, we need a very still maintenance. It's very, very important. We cannot have any mistake. And of course, we need online sensor with alerts to a lot of online sensor to avoid any problem. Now we are also working with fast detection of pathogens with systems online. We are working with some of them. And also in all of our wastewater treatment plant, we have implemented a risk management that is the same that is the process of security of drinking water supply. But we have to give confidence, and we have to be sure that this water is going to create any problem to the irrigators. Then we have a greenhouse in our wastewater treatment plant to study the microorganism survival in crops. Then we make studies in this greenhouse, and we know a lot about it. And we have made 2 large-scale risk assessments, qualitative and quantitative. We can see here some picture in this wastewater treatment plant. We can see here the ponds, we can see the crops, and when we are taking samples. And we have tested with different treatments, chlorine and UV, different irrigation networks, very important to know what is the effect of the storage in the reuse, because we have to be sure that the quality that we deliver in our wastewater treatment plant is very good, but we want to check that after there isn't any problem when the water goes out of the wastewater treatment plant, because it could happen. And the different irrigation system, we have testing with flood, sprinkler, or drip. And we have chosen some agricultural products that are very demanding. For example, lettuce or spinach that we can eat directly. And we have also measuring indicators and pathogen, not only indicators are E. coli, as for example, Campylobacter or the real viruses. Well, this is very important. If you want to reuse the water, you need to think that it's a responsibility. Then you cannot have any mistake, never, but you have to fight for that. Then our current challenges in water reuse are, thirdly, sorry, because there's a problem with the animation, but no problem. To improve every day the treatment reliability, efficiency, and half-life, this is the first. There is a new European regulation that is going to come in force in June of this year, and then it's the new requirements are much more strict than we have at the moment. It's also very important to advance in food health with affordable treatment. Is basic affordable treatment, because if it is very expensive, then the reuse is not going to be viable. This is also something very important for us. The research is very, very important for us. We are researching, for example, in emerging compounds since 2008. We have studied many about it. We know what happens where they get to the wastewater treatment plant, how we can remove them. Even we have some big plants with ozone and Arctic carbon to reduce the emerging compounds, because it's very important to know not only the capacity to remove, but also the cost of remove that. Because we have to make a balance between the cost and the problem that it can cause. And we are now studying antimicrobial resistance. It's very important in my point of view, because there are some news sometimes that say, wastewater treatment plants are creating a big antimicrobial resistance. Well, we have checked that, and we have tested, and the conclusion is that really we remove a lot of antimicrobial resistance. And I'm not speaking about bacteria. Bacteria is relatively easy to remove. Bacteria we can remove with chlorine compound, we can remove with UV system. No, it's not a problem. The problem is the genes. We have to attack the genes. Then we have checked that between in the inlet of the wastewater treatment plant, we have, for example, I don't know in English because it's complicated, but it's 11 U-logs, 11 U-logs, and we reduce to 8 U-logs. We remove more than 1,000 times the quantity that we receive, and it's very high. Then we don't produce resistance in the wastewater treatment plant, because we were worried about that, because in our wastewater treatment plant we have millions and millions of bacteria, and at the same time we have a very small concentration of antibiotics. And it means that this combination could be very dangerous for us. But we have checked that it's not so. And now we are studying which of our treatment are most effective to increase the removal of this elimination of genes of resistance, antimicrobial resistance. And also for us, it's very important to fight with the irrational fear, because we have found many times that people don't want to reuse the water because they think that it could be very dangerous. In my point of view, it makes no sense. Why? Because in the natural water, in the water that we have in the rivers, for example, there are much more pathogens possibly that the pathogen that we have in our reclaimed water. But one has a lot of control and the other one has no control. Well, finishing the current situation on water reuse. I think that there is a lot of experience on water reuse. As I said before, we are doing that for many, many years and without any problem. Water reuse is safe with good practices, of course. If you have good practice, you don't have any problem with that. New European regulation that is much more strict than we have currently will increase the safety. Other point is indirect water reuse is a fact. And we perhaps do we think that is it safer? I think that not. And something that I don't like anything is precautionary principle. I think that it's a resource of the cowards. I think that the precautionary principle, we have to go to the research to get confidence, but with research, not difficulting the possibility of to work with something. And it's everything. Thank you very much for your attention. And I answer any question that you have.
Thank you, Pedro, for this very interesting presentation. We move to a more, let's say, technical aspect of the wastewater treatment and the reuse of these product. I don't have questions on the chat. I don't know if Eddie, maybe Konstantinos or George, or do you have any question?
I have it. How much time do I have?
Let's say 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, we have time.
Okay, Pedro, thank you. Let me start on this. In all the 5 key points that you mentioned, and I didn't wrote it all down, but it was the public trust, the political will, etc. What is the most difficult to achieve from your experience?
To achieve the new requirements. Sorry, but
no, it's okay.
I didn't hear to you very well.
Okay, sorry. From the 5 key points that you mentioned on your presentation, what is the most difficult to achieve? It was the public acceptance, the
public perception.
Yes, for me, I think that it depends on. For example, in Murcia, there isn't any problem with the reuse of water. But if you go, for example, to Germany, they have a lot of problem with that. Then in every place can be different, the point that it's crucial for the water reuse. In our case, we are working now with the compliance of the new regulation, that it's very hard. And we are working very hard with that because it's complicated and the time is not very, very long. We have to start in 3 months with a new regulation and it's complicated. But for me, this is the most complicated to be able to comply that. But for me, there isn't any problem to reuse the water at all. I think that it's something good. We think that with good practices, there isn't any problem with that. And irrational fear is usually the main problem.
Okay, David,
We have a question from Rui Ferreira.
I will
Please.
allow you to speak.
Okay.
Rui, you're here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you, Pedro, and your partner as well. I have one question. I admire your work on the recycling, and Murcia is a fantastic example. I was a couple of years ago there for a different purpose. My question is regarding to financially. So how do you do that at the moment? So how do the farmers pay? Is there any rate? Is that regulated by the Murcia government? Is the price per cubic meter that the farmers pay for the recycled water? How does that work in real practice?
Okay.
So imagine I'm a farmer and I want to get water to irrigate my crops. How does that work there? Because in Portugal, we are still wondering and pulling our hairs out to understand how to do that.
Well, I'm going to be incorrect politically, because I'm so. I'm going to speak very clear. In Murcia, currently, farmers are not paying anything. Why? I think that there is a reason. Because in the European Union, there is a principle that says who pollutes pays. And who has put these pathogens in the water? The citizens. Then, for me, the citizens have to remove all the problem or the substances that they have put in the water. Then, for me, it's not something that it's not a logic that we pay for this treatment. But in the new regulation, we are going to pass from 100 of Escherichia coli per 100 milliliters to 10 units of Escherichia coli per 100 milliliters. Well, in my point of view, we have to continue paying to get 100 of E. coli, because I think that it's enough to any use. And this is the responsibility of the citizen that has put that in the water. But for the new situation, that the farmers have to pay something. For two reasons. One, because this is a water of exceptional quality, and they are going to take advantage of it. But the second question is because they need to consider that it's something valuable. Because if it is free completely, they are not going to give enough importance to this water. And it's important also. Then I think that the best is to pay the most of this cost for the citizen, but the farmers have to pay a small part of the new treatments that we need to get the new regulation.
Can I add something?
Sorry?
Yes, please. George, go on.
I agree with Pedro. It's not the first time. The city receive fresh water and add in the fresh water a lot of contaminants, salts, and pharmaceutical and other things. So the city have to pay to the removal. In Israel, the city treat the wastewater, and the farmers is not the farmer directly. There are association of farmers or water. They receive the water free at the end of at the outlet of the treatment plant, and the farmer pay money for the reclamation system, the pipe to the agriculture region, and the reservoirs, and the maintenance of the reservoirs. So the part of the irrigation the farmer pay, the part of the treatment of the wastewater is by the city. So this is the division between the two parts. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just add an extra point to this interesting conversation? how do you think that the consumers of these produce, you mentioned lettuce, spinach, what will be the, let's say, the behavior of the consumer knowing that these lettuce or this spinach were irrigated or fertilized, and actually they will be irrigated and fertilized with treated wastewater? Do you think that it can be used as a positive driver to convince the states and change legislation, or do you think that it might be, let's say, another obstacle that has to be considered?
For me, I think that there isn't any problem at all. We are doing without any problem. And we are many years exporting a lot of agricultural products to many countries in Europe, and never has happened anything. Even, you remember, there was a big problem some years ago. It was in 2011. We call that the cucumber crisis, because in Germany there were 52 people died, and thousands of people were hospitalized because there were an outbreak of E. coli. And at the same time, they said that it was a problem of a cucumber from Spain. 3 days later, they discovered that the cucumber from Spain don't have any problem at all. Then they are not responsible of it. But for many months after that, in many countries of Europe, they don't buy this product. And it teaches us that we have to be very, very, very conscious of that. We have to be responsible that it never happens. For that, the reliability is crucial for us. And we fight every day to get that. It's very important. And for example, many countries that never thought that they are going to reuse water, for example, Germany, Holland, Belgium, now they are coming here to learn how we do that, because they are understanding that it's necessary, but you have to do well. If not, it's a problem. But if you do well, it's not a problem at all. Of course, you have to be very, very cautious, but no problem, I think.
Thank you, Pedro, for this interesting discussion. I would like to continue, and we could continue for many hours, but we have to move to the next speaker. Thank you again, Pedro, for your presentation and discussion. So we move now to the last presentation of the day, a presentation by Jorge Tarchitzky. George, just some few words about you. You are an agricultural engineer. You have a PhD in soil and water science. You have been in some very important positions till 2008, since you were in the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in Israel. You also was a member of the interministerial committees for treated wastewater reuse and biosolids reuse regulation. You has been also working as a teacher in the Department of Soil and Water Science. And again, a last very important position, you were the chairman of the ISO PC 253 related to treated wastewater reuse for irrigation. And also for you are actually the current chairman of ISO TC 282 SC1 related to treated wastewater reuse for irrigation since 2014. So let's say that you are one of the key specialists in this topic. You also find time to publish more than 200 papers. So it's a right pleasure to have you here to share some thoughts about this topic, and you will speak about the reality of the fertilizing value of treated wastewater. So, George, the floor is yours for let's say, 40 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, David, and thank you for inviting me to your webinar. I will speak about the reality of fertilizing value of treated wastewater reuse. And one of the things that I think that is urban legend, or more agricultural legend, that if you irrigate with treated wastewater, you have one of the positive factors is that you can save money because you have nutrients in the treated wastewater reuse. And I want to, during my presentation, to explain if it's real that you are saving money and you are not doing a negative effect to the soil, to the plants, and to the environment. So first, the background of my work is my work in Israel. In Israel, Israel irrigate with treated wastewater from the 50s, 1950, but the main increase was in the 90s because a period of drought where without the desalinization of water that we have today. So the government decided to increase the use of treated wastewater for agriculture. And this increase from to be today about 50%, between 40 and 50% of the total water used in agriculture. So that half of the agriculture is irrigated with treated wastewater, and more than half of the crops, all the different crops that we are growing are irrigated with treated wastewater. And this was done because the agriculture, the government decided need the fresh water to provide this to the cities, to the population, and establish a new strict regulation that are the base for the ISO standard 6005 0575, and conduce the upgrading all the treated wastewater to tertiary treatment level, a level to unlimited irrigation. You can irrigate all the kind of crops, and the improvement of the quality of the contaminants during the use, or the addition of contaminant during the use of fresh water, mainly from the industrial wastewater that is going to treatment together with the municipal wastewater. Now, as I say, and you explained, during my work in the Ministry of Agriculture in the 90s, I was the national coordinator for the use of treated wastewater in agriculture. So I want to speak on something very practical, many basic. And we ask, and the farmers ask, does the treated wastewater really contribute to a balanced supply of nutrients for agricultural crops? And if does the use of treated wastewater enable proper management of the fertilization program? And we want to say that the agriculture in Israel is using only pressure irrigation systems and using fertigation, the addition of fertilizer with the water. So the farmer using fresh water can add fertilizers in the quantity, in the time that he decides according to the crop, in the ratio between the nutrients that he wants, so he can manage his fertilization program in the way that he want to do. And the question from the farmers, and after this from us, that we are in charge to give to the farmers the extension, the explanation how to use the treated wastewater, is the same in the treated wastewater use. Now you know that normally the treated wastewater have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And we have three main factors: the amount, so that the quantity of the nutrient that we apply with the treated wastewater. And the question if this amount is enough, the timing, if we are applying the nutrient at the time that the crop needs this, and the availability. One question of the farmer was if the nitrogen that I have in the treated wastewater is the same, or the behavior of this nitrogen is the same that we have when I apply some fertilizer, chemical fertilizer with the fresh water. So the nutrient that we apply is the result of normally in a treatment plant, and the concentration of the nutrient is more or less constant. And so the quantity that I apply during an irrigation system is the result of the multiplication of the constant concentration by the quantity of water that we use. For example, here I give the doses of 5,000 cubic meters per hectare. The concentration is 50 grams per meter cube. I apply about 150 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare. If I take in account that part of this nitrogen is organic, I am applying about 220 kilograms of nitrogen. Now, if I look at this table, we have here the nutrient that we applied. I calculate this according to in the same way that in the previous slide. And we can see that I apply 220 kilograms of nitrogen, 120 kilograms of phosphorus, and 120 kilograms of potassium. If we compare this with the crop uptake range, that is the basis of the fertilization, you can see that if we look at the total quantity, more or less I give all the nitrogen that the crops need. I need less potassium than the crop need, so maybe I have to add potassium, but I need 4 times, 5 times the quantity of phosphorus that I need. So I irrigate, the phosphorus is in the water, I apply the phosphorus, but the crop not need this quantity, and we will come back to these things later. What is the effect? This was the total quantity. When we speak about the timing, if I give the nutrients at the time that the crop needs this, I prepare here an example. We have here the months of the year. More or less in March, April, we begin the irrigation. And at the end of November, December, according with the rain, we stop the irrigation. Here we have the nitrogen kilograms per hectare. If we look at the blue bar, is the quantity of fertilizer, of nitrogen that we apply in fresh water, according with the program of fertilization, is about citrus in the central part or north part of Israel. So we can see that during 4 months, we apply 50 kilograms of nitrogen per month. I distribute this during the months, introducing the water. If we look here at the red bar, is the quantity of nitrogen that I apply each month with the treated wastewater. So the quantity that I apply each month is the multiplication of the concentration by the quantity of water. In April, the plant is the first stage. the evapotranspiration is relatively low, so I apply a small quantity of water. I cannot change this because we are irrigating. We are not doing fertilization with the water. We are irrigated. So this quantity increase during the months. The maximum is in the middle of the summer. And after this, the quantity decrease. So if I look here at the sky blue bar, we can see that in April I have a deficit, very big deficit, because I want to apply 50 kilo, I apply about 10, I have a big deficit. This deficit decrease with the time because I increase the quantities of water. In August, I want to stop the fertilization. Normally in a freshwater irrigated plot, I stop the fertilization. At this time, I continue to apply nitrogen because I am irrigating with the treated wastewater that contain water. So I can say that using treated wastewater, I have a period of deficit. That in this period, I can add to the wastewater fertilizers, but in the second half of the season, I have an excess of nitrogen. I cannot in the field take out the nitrogen because I don't need the fertilizer at this moment. So we have a problem of timing, and because our objective is to irrigate and not to fertilize with the treated wastewater, the result is these periods of deficit and excess. Regarding the availability, so most of the nutrients that we have in the treated wastewater are available to the crop. The crops have no difference between ammonium that come from ammonium sulfate than ammonium that we have in the treated wastewater. For the plant is the same. So what I present here is I was in charge of National Survey of Treated Wastewater in this period in the Ministry of Agriculture, and we test during 10 years 150 plots, most of them irrigated with treated wastewater and smaller quantity of fresh water. And we ask the farmers how you are fertilizing your plots. And you can see that if here we have the quantity of nitrogen applied, and here the blue is the fresh water and the red or pink is the treated wastewater, the farmers in average give 30% more nitrogen in the treated wastewater irrigated plots. When I enter in the particular of each farmer, we are farmers that say the treated wastewater have all the nutrients I have not to fertilize, and farmers that say I don't see somebody that put the nitrogen in the water, so the water have not fertilized nitrogen, and they give twice the quantity of nitrogen that the crop need. So the 2 points is all the nutrients are available to the plant, and you have to explain this to the farmers, because if not, they give a deficit of nitrogen or nutrients or an excess. Now, I want to present some of the results of our survey regarding the nutrients. The survey treat also the salinity and a lot of things. In this graph, you can see in the x-axis the depth of the soil. Here is 30 centimeters depth. And the y-axis is the total mineral nitrogen in the soil, the concentration in the quantity that we have in the soil. The blue are plots irrigated with fresh water that receive fertilizer, the enough fertilizer that the crop need. And the red one or the pink one are the plots irrigated with treated wastewater. You can see the concentration of nitrogen in the soil irrigated with treated wastewater, because the excess because the problem of timing is twice the concentration than in the freshwater irrigated soils. Is one. The second one is the phosphorus. Remember what we say regarding the quantity of phosphorus that we apply, that is 2, 3, 4 times. And again, you can see the y axis is the depth in the soil. The x-axis is the concentration of phosphorus in milligrams per kilogram in the Olsen extract. The blue line is the average of the freshwater plots in this concentration of clay in the soil. And the red one is the plots irrigated with the treated wastewater. The concentration is about twice the concentration. Two things we have here. One, the concentration is agar, twice of the concentration, in the fresh water. And in my experience, I see during the years a lot of result of laboratory soil analysis. And when I see very high concentration of phosphorus, it's because the plot is irrigated with treated wastewater or receive a lot of organic amendment, biosolids. Also in the biosolids, we have some wrong proportion between the nitrogen and the phosphorus. And if we continue, you can see we have plots that we, this here is the concentration of phosphorus, the depth. The blue line is freshwater irrigated plots. And these different lines are plots irrigated with treated wastewater during different periods. The first one is between 1 and 7 years. And the green one is a special case, but the last line is 15 to 40 years. You can see that we have 4 times the phosphorus that we have in the fresh water. And another thing, something that is not characteristic in the Israel soil, because we add all the time phosphorus, a lot of quantity of phosphorus, we achieve saturation at the first layer in the soil, and the phosphorus is going to the depth. Normally, in freshwater irrigated plots, we have a very high concentration in the agar layer of the soil, and no movement to the depth, because the soil is with high pH and the movement is limited. And another thing that is important in soils irrigated with treated wastewater, sandy soils, we look that there is a decrease of the pH. The normal pH of these soils is 7.5, and we find plots with a pH of 4 or 5, because the ammonium, the nitrogen in the treated wastewater is most of the nitrogen is ammonium. There is nitrification in the soil. We receive protons, we receive hydrogen in the soil, and this decrease the pH. The pH decrease, the phosphorus can be leached to the depth of the soil. The question is not only what we are doing to the soil, what are the effects, and I separate and put some examples of agronomic effects. And we can see that the nitrogen overdose enhances the vegetative growth with lower reproductive growth. In other words, decreasing the yield. In some crops, decreasing the sugar content, decreasing the sweetness of the fruits, postponement of the ripening of the fruits, the development of the color of the fruits is more slow. For example, if you have orange, to sell the orange, we want a very good orange color, but the apparition of the development of the color is very slow, and you have to collect the yield later, and shorter shelf life of fruits preserved in refrigeration, like apple or something like this. The P overdose is antagonism with the microelements, decrease the uptake by the plant. And environmental effects, the most important environmental effect is the nitrate leaching to underground water. If you remember the graph with the concentration, the higher concentration of nitrogen in the treated wastewater irrigated soil, that is twice the concentration than in the fertilizers, all this excess of nitrogen at the end is going down, and if we have underground water, we increase the concentration of nitrate in the underground water. And some phosphorus leaching to the surface water, and I think that Konstantinos speak something about this in the presentation. Leaching with is going with the runoff, and sometimes leaching to the underground water, mainly when you use this treated wastewater in soil with low pH. An example of the runoff, you can see the graph is not mine, is from Nasulin et al., some colleagues of the Institute for Agricultural Research of the Ministry of Agriculture. We have here the phosphorus concentration in the water, in the runoff water, and here different times during the year. The blue line is the concentration of phosphorus in the runoff from the freshwater irrigated plots, and the red is the runoff from plots irrigated with treated wastewater. So the solution is the first possibility that is today in a lot of wastewater treatment plant is nutrient removal in the treatment plant. In this case, the phosphorus is going to the biosolid and the nitrogen is going to the atmosphere. In Israel, the new, not new, it's 10 years ago, but the regulation established lower concentration of phosphorus. So the lower concentration is because I present the result of the survey and we see this place. So we establish in the committee a maximum concentration of 5 milligrams per liter of phosphorus in the water. It's not enough low. 5 milligrams per liter is still high, and the nitrogen was limited to 20-25 milligrams per liter. The result is if the treated wastewater treatment plant, and maybe later Pedro can speak about this, they say, okay, we reduce the phosphorus, we reduce the nitrogen, we cannot stop in the middle of the range. If we reduce the phosphorus, we reduce the maximum. And if we reduce the nitrogen, we reduce the maximum. So in this way, you reduce a lot of phosphorus in the biosolids, we call chemical precipitation, and the nitrogen is going to the atmosphere by denitrification. The second possibility is the nutrient removal and recycling. Regarding the phosphorus, the production of struvite is maybe the best way. And if we take in account that the reserve of rock phosphate in the world is decreasing, and we have reserve maybe for another 40, 50 years, the recuperation of the phosphorus in the struvite is a must. We need to if we put this phosphorus in the soil directly by the treated wastewater or indirectly by the biosolids, it's impossible to extract the phosphorus from the soil. So the best way is in the treatment plant, and the nitrogen recycling is less developed in the treatment plant. So maybe the solution, or I think in my experience, that the best solution is treated wastewater with minimum nutrients, and the fertilization management is like in the fresh water by the farmers. The farmers know how much they have to apply, when, and how much. And to finish, because David is thinking that they use a lot of time, the treated wastewater contains nutrients that in general are applied in excess during all or part of the irrigation season. These excesses have potential negative effects, agronomic and environmental, and the goal has to be to remove these nutrients and recycle them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George, for this excellent presentation. It was not too long, it was just on time, so you respect the time to give us some time for questions. The chat is very quiet, so I don't know if there's other question. I have, if you allow me, I can start with a question. This last presentation is very close to my area of work, and we have one common problem, is that wastewater, the treated wastewater is not as the mineral fertilizers, where we have just nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium. We have the three nutrients at the same time, and sometimes it's difficult to balance. So I was impressed by the numbers that you show us about the P content of the soil, because it's a huge amount. Do you have any idea of the losses in terms of nitrogen to the atmosphere when you use this treated water? How much ammonia, how much nitrous oxide can be lost by using this treated wastewater?
I was in a group that one of the researchers in the Technion test in Lysimeter's system the emission of ammonia to the atmosphere, ammonia or nitrate to the atmosphere. And the expectation was, because the soils in Israel are of pH between 7.5 to 8, and in a clay soil the pH also increase with the minimum increase with the irrigation with treated wastewater. He expects a lot of emission, but the emission was very small. Was very small, but taking account that the irrigation is irrigation, but drip irrigation. Okay. So the time that the water is in the surface is, if maybe with the sprinkler irrigation, that you distribute the water to all the surface of the plot, and the water is more time in the surface, etc. Maybe it's more, but I not expect to be seen. But you say something that is very important. When I was a young boy in the Ministry of Agriculture and start with the treated wastewater, one of the important researchers in Israel say, I want to come to you to see the things in the field. And in some place he asked me, okay, what is new? we know what is the effect of sodium to the soil. We know the question of salinity. We know what is the chemistry of the phosphorus and the nitrogen, and all these things we know. And I said, yes, but you know all of them separately. And now you have all together. So the example of the application of ammonium, that all the nitrogen with as ammonium, and the decrease in the pH of the soil because the nitrification of this, and the effect on the movement of the phosphorus is the combination that we have in the treated wastewater. We have a lot of ammonia, all the nutrition of nitrogen with ammonium, and we have an excess of phosphorus that is not in the fresh water.
This is a challenging topic. We have a question from
We have two questions.
the same speaker. So
And also Pedro is with his hand raised.
Yes.
Pedro was first, I think so.
sorry, Pedro, I didn't see you. I was focused on the chat. So maybe we can start with Pedro and then we move to Roy, please.
Okay. I agree completely with Jorge. I think that he's right when he said that. In fact, we remove the most of the nutrients in the wastewater because we want to avoid that. And also other problem that he has said about the problem in the ponds. Because if you have nutrients in the ponds, you are going to have a lot of algae, and it's a problem if you have drip irrigation and all of this. But it's crucial that we recover the phosphorus. It's very, very important. In some years ago, after we are going to lose the quantity of phosphorus that we need for the crops. It's very important to recover that. And if we discharge without any control this phosphorus, it will be a problem for not very far. I think that it's very important. We have to control that. We have to reduce the nutrients in the water, of course, like Jorge has said, but also we have to recover the phosphorus. It's very, very, very important.
Thank you, Pedro, for this comment. Maybe we move to Jorge.
I will allow him to speak again. Wait.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you, Jorge, and also thank you, Pedro, to bring up something that was in my mind when I was listening to Jorge about the acidification of the soils, and that then eventually that will conduct to the leaching and bringing down the pH of not only the soil but also the underground water. My question is, if we do not reuse the treated wastewater, what is happening to our rivers and to our ocean? Because that acidification, I presume that all those nutrients are going to contribute negatively, very negatively, to the pH of the water where this is discharged, whether it's the rivers and then eventually the sea. So my question is, I understand that it's very important to do everything we can to recycle and to retain the nutrients so that they will not be in excess for the agricultural usage. But looking a little bit further is, at this moment, if we are just releasing the treated wastewater with the present concentration of the nutrients, how negative is this now compared with the eventual negative effects that the crops can have? I don't know if you understand my question.
I understand. First, at least in Israel, the regulation for the rivers is more strict regarding the nutrients than the regulation for the irrigation. The maximum nitrogen in the water released to the river is 1 milligrams per liter, and the phosphorus is in the limit of the technical possibilities to decrease the phosphorus less than 1 milligrams per liter. and in Israel, the Ministry of Environment is completely against the release of water to the river, mainly because you have users. So the concept in Israel is very different. I think that is similar to Murcia. I visited Pedro in Murcia some years ago. We have not water. We need the water. The negative effects of the treated wastewater, treated or untreated, etc., to the rivers or to the sea is bigger than the excellent possibilities of use of the water. So the pH will be in the treatment plant. Remember that in the treatment plant you can remove this. It's better to remove the phosphorus and recycle this phosphorus. In the past, the cost of the removing of the phosphorus was very high, and the price of the fertilizer was relatively low. There is a beautiful graph on this, what happened with the price of the fertilizers, phosphorus fertilizer during the last tens of years, and because the knowledge of on the technology to obtain struvite and remove the phosphorus and recycle them increase, the price of the technology to recycle the phosphorus decrease. So these two lines have a certain point of the price of the fertilizer increase and the price of the technology decrease now is more expensive to produce or to buy fertilizer than produce struvite. So from today, I think that the wastewater treatment plants can go to produce struvite. And also, I'm not a man of treatment, but maybe Pedro can say that struvite that you are not removing in because you want to remove is doing a lot of problems in the treatment plant. It's precipitating on the pools. It's precipitating of the different accessories in the treatment plant. So the damage is big in the treatment plant. The damage is big in the rivers, and the damage can be high in the farmer plots. So I think that is an excellent solution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge, for your last comment. Unfortunately, we just have 2 minutes for discussion. So if you allow me, I will just try to summarize what we discussed during these 2 hours, now 2 hours. We have an excellent evolution of the presentation, since we start with let's say an overview of all the solutions that are today available. Konstantinos give us a nice vision of the running projects, some different solutions that are available for the reuse of wastewater. Then we have a more technical presentation by Pedro Simón that show us that it is possible to do some efficient treatments to reuse these wastewater. And finally, we have the presentation by Jorge that show us the value of these treated wastewater. So I think that the main conclusion of this session could be that the question today is not if we have to reuse the treated wastewater, but how is the best way to reuse the treated wastewater. We have all the knowledge. We saw that we still have some questions to answer. We still have some challenges that in some cases are not so much scientific. Pedro highlighted the fact that there's a strong challenge to convince the authorities that there's no risk, that we can do that in the correct way. He also stressed that it's a high responsibility to use these treated wastewater, because we don't have any space for any errors. And he brings the example of the cucumber crisis. So I think it's a very important messages. But as Jorge say, the increase of the price of the mineral fertilizers, the need of nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, are probably one of the main drivers for farmers, and most for farmers, to reuse this treated wastewater. So I'm quite optimistic about this challenge, that is to efficiently use the treated wastewater. And I hope that in a few months or maybe few years, we can have a second workshop with the same session, the same speakers, and with a very optimistic overview of the last years. I would like to thank you all the speakers for this excellent afternoon. It was a pleasure for me to learn a bit more about this topic. I think it was a great opportunity for the audience to discover some alternative use for the treated wastewater. And I hope that we can meet somewhere and discuss a bit more about these topics. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay, and if you allow me, David, I also like to thank you to the speakers, Konstantinos, Pedro, Jorge, and you for this very dynamic section with our audience as well. And just a small reminder for all the people present live on this webinar to please consider to answer our quick survey. It should be popping up right now on your screen. Just 3 questions, because it's important for us to know who have we reached as an event. Another information: if you are reaching to us after our original date, you can see the other sessions on our website or directly from this YouTube account. For that, please view the links provided below. For any other matter, you can always contact us from our email, which is also provided in the description. This was the agriculture use session of the wastewater use year 2023. It's my time to say goodbye, hoping you have a wonderful day. And as you saw today, the water flow begins but never ends. What really matters, it's how we do it. So I see you all later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.